Okay, guys, now that we finished chapter 8, we are on to chapter 11. We're on to circles. So, parts of circles. Our objective is to identify segments and lines related to circles. So, here's your warm-up. What's the Pythagorean theorem? What type of triangles are used in this theorem? Is the theorem used for? And then, name 4 Pythagorean triples. Let's just do 2 there. Let's switch that to a 2. Okay, so I'll give you a second to try these out. Okay, that was long enough of a second for me. So Pythagorean theorem, you guys always tell me is that A, B, C thing, and that's true. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, where C is what? The hypotenuse. So C, A, B. What type of triangle are these used for? Well, I kind of already drew it into this triangle. It's a right triangle. And then Pythagorean triples, we talked about this in the chapter we learned about right triangles and the Pythagorean theorem. These are where you guys have whole numbers that satisfy these. So the most common one we see is a 3, 4, 5. 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. And we'll see that that's true because that's 9 plus 16 equals 25. And the other one we see is 5, 12, 13. So we have 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. Let's make sure that's true. 25 plus 144 equals 169. And that is true as well. Okay, let's go on. We're now with a lot of definitions today. Parts of a circle. So the first thing is secant. A line that intersects a circle at 2 points. So a secant line, notice the words are lines. So you see that there's arrows on the end of this, and they intersect twice. Okay, we also have a tangent that intersects the circle at 1 point. Every time we teach this, or I teach this, I always bring up that you guys might have heard this phrase, and then a good number of people always tell me they haven't. You hear about a teacher going off on a tangent, or people going off on a tangent. Well, they talk about going off on a tangent. It's where it relates to one point of a conversation, but then it's nowhere else connected to it. And that's kind of what a tangent line is, and that's why they use that, because it relates to the 1 point, but it's not dealing with what you're actually talking about. So off on a tangent, again, it's a line, so a tangent line, and connects at just 1 point on the circle. And then the point of tangency is an intersection point where the tangent touches the circle. So in that example, B is the point of tangency. Okay, again, if you guys need to pause this, you can. I'm going to keep going. And the last vocab word here is a chord, a segment whose endpoints are on the circle. So this looks a lot like a tangent, or not tangent, a secant line, but it ends on the circle. So right here, that would be a chord. So just the 2 endpoints, and then it's not a line. So a chord is not a line, it's just a segment. Okay, so this has been a while, well, maybe not that long, from the last sections. So what is a radius? Well, it is a segment from center. Okay, I'm struggling writing today. From the center of the circle to a point on the circle. Okay, after that we have what is the plural of radius. I don't know if you guys remember this one. This one's kind of fun word, radii. And then what's the diameter? A segment with endpoints on the circle through the center. Okay, let's get going. So here we want to write the word that best describes the segment / line in the circle. So we're going to start with AB. Well, AB, you see, is right here. Starts at the center. It's a segment. Ends on the circle. We know that's going to be a radius. Okay, our next one up is going to be, let me change colors to do this. BD. BD is right here. Goes endpoints on the circle, go straight through the center. That means it has to be a diameter. Okay, next one up. We have BC. BC here, notice that it has the endpoint or the arrows on it, so that means it's the whole line BC. Okay, so it's a line that intersects the circle twice. The only one that is a secant line. A nice way to remember that is that first part, it looks like secant, goes through twice. And then we have CD right here. 2 endpoints on the circle, does not go through the center, and that means this has to be a chord. Okay, let me know how you guys are doing. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, the next one, write the word that best describes the segment or line and circle M. Notice again that when we call it circle M, we're talking about the center dot M. And that's how we define those. So our first one up is PQ. Well, PQ has endpoints on the circle. It's just a segment. That means this has to be a chord. Next up, let's go RS. RS is a line. You see it has arrows in the end of what it's calling it. So it intersects the circle 2 times, arrows on it. That means that this has to be a secant. Okay, then we have, let me find a different color, LN. LN is a segment that goes through the circle. Center at M. That means this one is the diameter. So the diameter is actually a chord that goes through the center. So it's a specific type of chord. And then we have ST, line ST. Well, line ST is right here. So line ST, it hits just at S. So this is a tangent line. And then we have LM. I'm going to do this in LM and MN. They are both radii. Centered at the center, goes to the edge of the circle. And then we have S, and that's going to be your point of tangency, because that's where the tangent line connects. So point of tangency, because that's where your tangent line connects. That's why we call it the point tangency. Okay. So this one now tells you what you're looking for, and you have to name a specific. So the first one is a chord. So remember, a chord is a segment that intersects a circle twice. And the only one that, well, there's 2, but the one that we're going to consider, right, is going to be that ED. Goes through here, has endpoints on the circle. So we call that ED. This is where it matters when you label it. Line on the top, that's a segment. A secant is a line that intersects twice. So we're looking at things that have arrows. The only things that have arrows are the AC and the K, line K. So here, we know that line K intersects twice. Since it only has that K there, that's probably just the name of it, so we just write it as line K. Okay. Next up, we have a tangent. So the tangent line only hits once. So the only line that just hits once is this one right here. You have a couple different ways you can name this. I'm going to call it AC. You call it CAAB. But remember, with tangent lines, you got to put the 2 arrows on the end because it's a line. Diameter is a chord that goes straight through the center. So the one that goes straight through the center is that FH. Since it's a segment, you have to end it at FH, line on top, no arrows. Okay. The radius starts at the center, ends on the edge. You got 2 of those happening. So you could tell me FG or GH. Center of the circle, you guys can eyeball that one. We know that that's just going to be that G. And then point of tangency, that's where that tangent line intersects. And we see that tangent line hits the circle at B. Okay, let me know how this goes. Thanks, guys.